Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Alien Covenant stars Michael Fassbender, Catherine Waterston, Danny McBride, and is directed by Ridley Scott. So what's up, everyone? I saw this movie on Thursday night. I planned on reviewing it that night, but this is one of those movies that you really want to let it set for a little bit, and I did that. Glad I did, because I could not get this movie out of my head all day, and it possibly changed my rating. But before I get started, there was somebody that I was supposed to give a shout out to in this review. I scoured YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, could not find it anywhere. So whoever that was, if you see this video, just give me a comment below saying, hey, I was that guy, and I will definitely make sure I give you a shout out on the next video. And I do apologize, it does happen. And also, after the rating, we're gonna talk some spoilers on this, definitely. There's no way I can get through this review without mentioning spoilers, and I'll go ahead and say the non-spoiler section of this movie, just to give you subscribers that haven't seen the movie something. That part of this review probably will be pretty short, because there are so many spoilers in this movie and things that I don't want to give you, because I want you to go in really knowing nothing. As a matter of fact, they released like a prologue for this, and I didn't want to watch it. All I watched was those 2 trailers that came out a couple months ago, and that was it. After that, I wanted to go in just completely cold, which is what I did. So anyway, on to the review. So in Alien Covenant, you got this group of colonists. They're in hypersleep, and the android that's on board, played by Michael Fassbender, Walter, he has to awaken the crew because they are hit by this shock wave. Let's just say that horrible things happen, and they have to wake up. And such horrible events happen that people die. And the emotions of everybody at the beginning of this movie play a direct result of their actions later in the movie. And we'll get to some of those actions in the spoiler section of the review, because some of the complaints I heard about this movie were based on character actions. Characters don't react the same, I believe, when they have gone through a tragedy as they would when they are, level-headed. But while they're awake, they receive this distress call, and they all have to make a quick decision. Do we go and see what this is all about, or do we keep going? And of course, there's some big confusion there. But as we all know, they do answer the call. They go to the planet, and then that's where the shit starts hitting the fan. And let me just say, as soon as they get to this planet, some really unnatural things start happening. And really, this is where you're gonna get those Prometheus vibes, with the black dust comes up and it gets into the blood system. And this is all stuff that's in the trailers. But the black stuff, or black goo, it affects a couple of the members. And when they get back on board, or even before they get back on board, their body starts going through these changes. And I don't want to go any further as far as how far these changes go, but let me just say, it gets crazy. Now I'm going to go ahead and say this right off the bat. Alien Covenant was my #1 most anticipated movie of the year. And it actually far exceeded my expectations. It was everything I could ever want in a new Alien movie. And I have to thank Prometheus for that. Prometheus offered a bevy of new ideas. It dared try to answer the question of the space jockey, but also bring up these ideas of creationism and offer a lot of open-ended theories. It confused a lot of people. A lot of people were pissed off at Prometheus because they wanted the same old Alien movie. So, like Prometheus, you got people that are probably not gonna like this movie as much because they want the same old Alien movie, but this is not that. It does have some of that Alien DNA, but it still has a lot of that Prometheus DNA. It ties up a lot of those threads that are left hanging at the end of Prometheus, and I'm glad it did that. Now, I know this movie came out a week ago in the UK, and I had read some rumblings. I didn't read any full reviews or anything like that, but I had read some rumblings that a lot of Prometheus fans were not happy because this one didn't explore enough of those ideas of Prometheus. After seeing this, I completely disagree. There was a lot of Prometheus things in this movie. And let me just say, Michael Fassbender plays a major part in that. He is by far the most interesting character in this movie. And Alien Covenant is, I think, the perfect bridge between Prometheus and Alien. Right down to the score. They even use some very recognizable Jerry Goldsmith cues from the original Alien. But you'll also notice some of those cues from Prometheus. Now, as far as any creatures, the only ones I'm going to talk about are the ones you might have saw in the trailer. Of course, the xenomorph that we all know and love. And yes, that xenomorph is in here. I guess if I had to mention a con, they depended on CGI, and I understand what they were doing because the Xenomorph does things in this movie that we have never seen before. And a lot of that would have to involve CGI. You just can't get that message across with practical effects. And I will say, when my son walked out of this, he didn't like the movie at first because of the movements and how much they showed the Xenomorph, or the ways they showed the Xenomorph at the end. But we had a discussion about it, and this is really the first time the Xenomorph has ever, come into fruition. And it's chaotic, and the Xenomorph adapts to its environment. And so how would the very first Xenomorph react to its environment? Chaotic. And I think they nailed that perfectly. I think by the time we get to the Xenomorph that's in Alien, it's a different beast. And it probably reacts differently now that it knows how humans or engineers move. Okay, everybody that has not seen Prometheus, I've told you all I can tell you. I freaking love the hell out of this movie. It is my #1 of the year. I'm giving it Trapped on an Island. No ifs, ands, or buts. This movie was amazing to me. I can't wait to see it again. I even posted on Twitter, I have never wanted to get back to a theater as fast as I have with a movie like Alien Covenant, because it just offers so many cool ideas. It creates so much discussion just in one day, from reading online, from forums and Twitter and Facebook and all that. Everybody's just talking about this movie. Even people that hate this movie can't stop talking about it. And I love movies like that. Okay, so now we're gonna get into spoiler discussion. If you haven't seen this movie, then you go ahead and get out of here. Or if you don't care and you wanna hear the spoilers, go ahead. But the first thing we gotta talk about is Michael Fassbender. Amazing performance. He did two characters. He did Walter and he did David. And if we remember, David was from Prometheus, and we see him in the middle of the movie. He is the one that sent the distress call. He's got the long blonde hair. And at the beginning of the movie, David was with Wayland, and he was the first of his kind. And David was curious about who the creator was, as was Wayland. But he asked too many questions, so they ended up making a different model. And Walter was one of those models down the line that was more of just a servant, did what he was told. David was trapped on this planet with Shaw for 10 years, and he was actually doing experiments on Shaw. And so in those experiments, he eventually creates the one thing that creates the Xenomorph, which is the egg. And that scene just gave me chills. That was so cool. This movie really just connects all those dots. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them, from Prometheus to Alien. And the egg was the one key that David needed to get to the Xenomorph. Also, let's talk about the Neomorphs. When one of the crew members gets infected, when he gets on the planet, he gets on the ship. And this is where the shit really hits the fan, because immediately he starts having reactions and the Neomorph comes out of him. And during that scene, I was just so curious. Like, for a second, I thought the actual Xenomorph was going to come out of him. But no, it was the Neomorph. These creatures are kind of iffy because they're almost albino looking. And I think this is where you had the most problems CGI wise. But it was cool to see an alternative to the Xenomorph. We saw the Deacon in Prometheus. Well, in this one, we actually see a new creature. So it's kind of like the evolution of the Xenomorph. It started with the Deacon, and then the Neomorph, and then finally with the egg, we get the Xenomorph. And there was one scene where David, he's so curious about creationism that he has a moment where he communicates with the Neomorph. And that was just a really cool scene, because we've never seen anybody make any of these creatures behave. We saw in Alien Resurrection, they were actually trying to kind of tame them, but you can't tame them. Finally, I got to talk about that last scene, which some might say is predictable, but I still think it was really satisfying, and it was a great way to set up the next movie, because there's got to be a movie between this and Alien. During the last segment of the movie, there is a fight between Walter and David. And by the way, Walter and David has got to be a wink to Walter Hill and David Giler, who are the producers of the Alien series. So I'm wondering if the next android will be named Dan, after Dan O'Bannon maybe. But they have a fight, and then David becomes Walter. He acts like he's Walter to gain the trust of one of the crew members, Danny, who is kind of supposed to be the Ripley of the movie, but she's definitely no Sigourney Weaver. But I just love that scene in the end when she's the last one going into hypersleep, and then right before she goes to sleep, she realizes that it's not Walter, it's actually David. So who knows what David's gonna be up to once they're out, but it can't be good. Anyway, guys, that is my thoughts on Alien Covenant. It's the movie to beat for me this year. I know I probably rambled a little bit because there's just so much to this movie. I probably even forgot a few things to talk about, but I loved the hell out of this. We're actually going to be doing a Scream stream on Alien Covenant, just Alien Covenant, this coming Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. But post below, let me know your thoughts on this, because I know a lot of you guys do not like Alien Covenant. I know there's a big discussion going on about this movie, but I love movies like that create discussion. But anyway, guys, if you're not a member of Killer Flicks, make sure you become a member. We talk horror all day, every day, and on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. If you look down below, you can see all my social media links. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.